We'll call this work session Monday, January 23rd to order. Invocation given by the mayor and the pledge of allegiance by Mr. Dahl.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings, both personally and as a community. We ask your protection for our troops, both here and abroad. We also ask your comfort for those who have suffered loss recently. Please lead, guide, and direct us as we conduct the business of our community. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. First thing on the work session tonight, Scottsboro Boys Museum presentation. Dr. Reedy.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the council. Can you hear me okay? Is this okay? I appreciate the invitation to come up here and talk to you about Scottsboro. I promise that I saw your agenda and I know you're busy, so I'll try not to be more than an hour, but that's a joke for attempted humor. 5.5 years ago, I was here the last time, and we were telling you what we were going to do with the Scottsboro Boys Museum, which opened the first time in 2010. And I want to just show a couple slides at the beginning about what we talked about 5.5 years ago, then I'll show you some of the progress we've made. If you want to go inside the museum now, this is again, this is the date on that image is August 2017, and this was what we told you we were working on, a entry wall that showed the faces of the 9 victims in this case, and a jail cell, to create a jail cell. We'll go quickly through this. Go ahead. Inside the jail cell. And then what we wanted to do is create context for the Scottsboro Boys Museum, so people, when they walked in, the first question they asked themselves is, what would it have been like to be a black teenager in the 1930s? What challenges did they have? And what was it like to be a white teenager or a young white woman in the 1930s? And I think unless you ask those questions, you don't really fully grasp what's going on when you get to the trial and all the things that are surrounded with the trial. So we talk about poverty. We're going to tell you about the arrests. We're going to take the choir area. I don't know what the next slide is, but keep going. And turn this into kind of a tableau of the trial scene. And this particular one was a Decatur trial because you'll see Thomas Knight and Samuel Leibowitz going at it, and Judge Horton in the background there. And we were going to create mannequins. We didn't have images of the mannequins yet, but this is where we were going to place them. And now, so that was the last slide. So we're going to show, this is a minute 19 video. Before you start, I want to just give you a history. There were 2 documentarians who were doing a documentary on Highway 72 from Chattanooga to Muscle Shoals, and they're going to highlight the culture and the music along Highway 72. It's a wonderful thing. It's coming out soon. And anyway, they stopped by the museum, and they had their drone, and they said, do you mind if we take some shots of the museum with the drone? And I was like, that sounds cool. So I thought what they had in mind was that they were going to go up high around the museum and all that, but I'll show you what they came up with. They had 8 minutes of video, and I said, can you make us a little minute video we can use? So, no, aren't you there now? Oh, all the way to the bottom right, next to the trash, right there. No, that's not it. That would not be up. Go to PowerPoint. Can you see the PowerPoint? Right there. It should be under. Okay, go to top right. Top right. kind of surprised me because they flew right into the museum. I thought they were just going to hover around. There's a lot more to that. What you don't see in that video is there's an annex to the old Joyce Chapel, for those of you who have been in it, and that's where we're doing more of the culture and the sort of the global expression of this. So there's protests and rallies that were all around the world. So I did want to show that just so you get an idea that as a board and even though we suffered the loss of Sheila, our founder and director, and we made it through COVID, and we were closed 2.5 years. We kept our word, and we got this done, and we got it open, and it's better than ever. And I'm going to go through a few more slides. Go ahead. Okay, so the progress we've made already, and just for context, we reopened in September of this year to the public. We kind of got our board reassembled and a new board reassembled by March of 2022. So in this period of time, we've completely renovated the museum. It's 90% done right now, where we have ADA compliant women's bathroom. So that's all brand new. ADA, we're fully, let's see, we have a ADA compliant entryway, and also access to the exhibits. So we kept all the elements of Joyce Chapel. You walk in, you still feel like if you went to church there, you would still know you're in Joyce Chapel. We moved the pews about 4 inches closer, and we moved two pews out, and we were able to create enough space so that if you have a wheelchair, you can see every exhibit. You get close to each one of them. But again, it feels like a church still. We have a great new, fully committed, talented board of directors that is made up of about half people from Scottsboro, Jackson County. The other half are from Huntsville. I think there's 10. I think it's 6 Scottsboro, Jackson County, and 4 Huntsville. New website, better systems in place to track visitors. The only way we get money is to go to people and say, look, these are all the people that are coming to the museum. That's kind of that's our report card. Better systems in place to track visitors. So we're not only tracking the visitors, we're not only taking their names, but we're getting addresses. We're seeing where they're coming from. As we're building our strategic plan, we'll go to the areas that seem to be most interested. For instance, Huntsville has been very, very supportive of this museum, so we'll direct dollars that way. Point-of-sale technologies to track admissions and sales, indoor and outdoor security cameras. So we have a place with spotlights on it and cameras. We're mindful that we're a civil rights museum in this day and age, and it's important for us to make sure that our building's protected, that our exhibits are protected to the extent that they can, so we can continue to tell the story. We were recently featured in Forbes magazine, so we're proud of that. And I'd also like to introduce our new assistant director, Veronica Wood, who is my lifesaver because I live in Huntsville, and I was making that drive every day. So now she lives in Scottsboro and is able to be here. She opens and closes the museum every day. We're open Wednesday through Saturday, 10 to 2. Veronica works longer hours than that. Since reopening at the end of September this year, we've welcomed over 400 visitors to the museum. And you can't read this, I'm sorry, but I couldn't figure out a way to do it. I mean, I didn't know how to do this better, but this is what our Google Sheet looks like. People sign the book, and we ask for their address, or at least a city or a zip code, so we can place them, and also an email address so that we can continue to communicate with them. At the end of every day, Veronica will then type that into a Google Sheet that we have, and we'll, so that's how we know exactly how many people have visited the museum and where they've come from. And they've come from as far away as France, England, and Ireland just since we reopened, and also probably a dozen different states. So in that short period of time, And again, we have bigger dreams than having 400 visitors. I mean, we want to have 5,000 in a year, if not this year, next. But it's from where we were, I'm proud of the fact that we were able to do that. Some of the things we're working on, initiatives, we have been working very hard collaborating with area educators. It's more and more difficult to talk about tough issues in school for a variety of reasons, race, gender, and a museum like ours gives a place or a space for teachers to bring their students and engage them in a way that the teachers feel more comfortable. You know, I think it's if we're not making our teachers comfortable, then they're gonna start leaving the profession. So what we've done is we've talked to the supervisors, the city schools and the county schools supervisors. And we're forming a committee of teachers, and this is starting in March. And what we're gonna do is create a curriculum that makes sense for the different age groups. If we have fifth graders coming to our museum, we're not going to emphasize the same thing as we would with 10th graders or high schoolers. So my education experience was at UAH, which is in college, and I didn't deal with these issues. So we're going to rely on area teachers, basically, to do this. And to that end, we are building a interactive digital board. It's kind of the size of the board when you walk in here, but it's going to be a display, and the teachers will be able to upload their lesson plan for that day in there. Or if they have an assignment or an exercise they want their students to do, that'll be integrated because we control it all off our laptop. And it'll also be a repository for our audio and visual archive. So that'll be in there too. So if you want to listen to Lead Belly talking about the Scottsboro boys, you know, we have those things. Parking lot, we received a gift of 100 ton of gravel from Vulcan Materials, and that was courtesy of Mayor McCamey over here, who called me a week ago and said, hey, I got 100 ton of rock I'm dropping off, and I'm like, what did I do wrong? So, and sure enough, the next day we had 4 truckloads of gravel in our driveway, and that's all spread out. We're going to use that. We were talking with an asphalt person. We're going to use that money. We're going to use that gravel now as part of the base that the asphalt people will use. So it's saving us a lot of money. So thank you, Mayor. I know you were. Thank you, Vulcan Materials, but they wouldn't have known about it without Mayor. The other thing, the initiatives, is we're working hard, and we need to work harder at outreach to community leaders and other cultural centers. We've been out, places like the library, and we've talked about, having programs, either library programs at the museum or Scottsboro things at the library. It's just a win-win when you do that. So we're talking with them. We have a special guest coming on March 24th for the anniversary. We're not allowed to talk about her until 30 days before the event, but you'll all be invited. So 10 o'clock in the morning, you may want to just put a thing like special guest coming to Scottsboro Boys Museum. You'll get that. Why this all matters, because you have to get, we're talking about doing this, and it's like, okay, it's cool, or it's not cool. Why does it matter? The case is arguably the starting point for the modern civil rights movement and deserves a top-notch museum. That's number one. If you're the beginning of a civil rights movement, you deserve a top-notch, at least on par with the Rosa Parks Museum, the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, the Civil Rights Museum. And if you've been to those places, those are multi-million-dollar facilities, right? We did our construction for $125,000. So we've been frugal and working with what we have. But The city, I feel now has one that it can be proud of right now, but we can make it way better too. The name Scottsboro is globally identified with this case, not with your city, period. If you've traveled, you know this. If people recognize Scottsboro, they recognize it because of the Scottsboro boys. Maybe regionally, they recognize it because of unclaimed baggage, but if you get in other states, if you could travel in Europe, Scottsboro equals the Scottsboro boys. And it's not a bad thing, but that's, most cities your side aren't known for anything. I'm from Elmira, New York. No one would know Elmira in Europe, right? Everyone in Europe knows Scottsboro because in England and Ireland and France, the people we talked to, they all studied it in 7th grade, this case. They know more about it than probably most people in this room right now because they know it like we know the Montgomery bus boycott. So they studied Scottsboro more than that, which is interesting. But it was a big global phenomenon. And you're at the center of it. And this is what, 5 years ago we talked about this. This is a civil rights tourism is the equivalent of what in Germany is Holocaust tourism, which is been the fastest growing industry in Germany for probably the last 20 years. So, and civil rights tourism in Alabama is huge. If you've been to Montgomery since they opened the lynching museum, and you've seen the neighborhood, how that neighborhood has changed, it didn't change for any other reason than that all those people going down there and going to those museums and then going to restaurants and staying overnight, and and those 400 people we had, none of them came and went. They usually went to unclaimed baggage, but they also got lunch, and they spent money. Many of them had never been to Scottsboro before. We always send them to Payne's because Veronica likes some kind of vegan thing, and I like their ice cream, so we have something for everyone. But the final thing is memorializing, interpreting, and understanding the case and its legacies makes everyone in there better. It makes us better citizens. It gives us a fuller understanding about, human interaction. And it's not a political thing. We have nothing to do with politics here. It's just this is the history, and this is, there's things that's been going on a long time, and we should understand these things. And there's trends, there's currents, there's waves, and we help with that. Okay. Since 2020, I'm going to ask for two things today. This is the easy one. The Scottsboro Boys Museum has received $250,000 in funding from the state, that should be from the state, that allowed us to renovate, and I brought our financials here, so we're doing pretty well. We've received additional funding from private donors through grants, admissions, merchandise sales. During this period, we received $20,000 from those other sources. During this period, we received $20,000 from the city. So we asked that the city have a little skin in the game and donate $50,000 to the museum. In the Forbes article and in the when we had our grand opening and Mayor was there, some of you were there, I was asked by every TV station and newspaper what our relationship is with the city. And like I said in the Forbes article, everybody wants to know what our relationship is with the city of Scottsboro. That's what's interesting. And it's a weird question in a way because I feel like Mayor here and I are becoming friends, and it's just, but there's a perception outside of Scottsboro that how do you put a civil rights museum in the middle of Jackson County? Okay. One of the ways I can answer this better is saying, yeah, they're helping fund it. This gives you an opportunity there. So we'd like a donation of $50,000. This is the more fun one. Okay. I would like you to consider renaming the West Willow between North Houston and North Cedar. I guess that's a dividing line, I notice. It's so between Houston and Cedar, as Scottsboro Boys Drive. Why? Because the museums that we are going to outshine are on Rosa Parks Boulevard. They're on streets that have been renamed in a lot of cases for that museum. And we don't need the whole Willow Street, but just that one section. And also, I didn't put this up here. This is my last slide. When you get to Willow and North Houston there's a historic district that turns you right and left. Can we get a sign that points them straight so they can get to our museum? It says turn left for Heritage, turn right for the Railroad Museum, but there's nothing that directs to Scottsboro Boys Museum. And I think that's all we got. But thank you very much for your time. I've got, I didn't make copies because I couldn't remember how we do this, but I do have a couple things I could drop off here. One is the, just a statement of financial position so you know we're healthy. And then this is our guest list too that we've accumulated just from last year. Last thing, I know that you probably have all read this. This book just came out. This is just telling you about the world that exists, like Scottsboro world that, we don't think about. This book is called Songs in Dark Times, Yiddish Poetry of Struggle from Scottsboro to Palestine. And it kind of reinforces the fact that how global and international this case was in nature and how it is ingrained in different ways with so many different groups of people. So thank you for your time.
You want to just give it to Whitney? She can make copies.
Yeah, there's this one and some was like a few pages.
Thank you.
All right, number 2 on the agenda, discuss the FFA grant from the airport HVAC system. Mr. Williams?
Mayor, councilmen, and women, pleasure to address you on this. I know I've been here a bunch of times. All of you hadn't been here at the time I was because of re-elections and all that, but it seems like I'm always asking for money when I come. But what has happened here, I come up on this, I'm a member of I'm also chairman of the airport board here at Scottsboro, and I'm also on the Alabama Aviation Council, which is a state board, and we meet in Montgomery once a month on Wednesdays. And I couldn't get down there Wednesday because of the weather. It was socked in down there and socked in here, so I got on a computer and attended it virtual. And couldn't hear real good what they were saying, but I picked up on this grant. And when the meeting was over, I called Rick Tucker. He was on his way back. Oh, no, he was home because he went in virtual too. And I said, what was that grant they were talking about? I hadn't heard about that. And JB hadn't either. We hadn't picked up on it. And it was, it's a discretionary, supplemental discretionary fund that the Biden administration has put into lower emissions at our airports. And so I tried to get a hold of our engineering company while I was talking to Rick and had some people on the phone from down there. And I went ahead and let them off the phone and finally got a hold of Jeff. And I had him look it up. And I said, see what we qualify in that funding where we can, it was a 90-10 grant. And it's for emissions, and it's to lower emissions, and the only thing that I thought we might be funded for would be maybe our fuel tanks for capture of fumes, recapture, or something inside our FBO. And sure enough, our air conditioners in our FBO, which is the fixed base operator we call it, which is the offices and where you go in, use the restrooms and everything, and have meetings. We have meetings there at the airport. And so I said, well, you know, how much of that would be covered on our air conditioners? And he said, probably all of it, whatever it would take to do it. So we got one air conditioner that's probably 25 years old, and then we got one unit, there's 2 units there, and one that's probably 7 or 8 years old. And what I looked at was, and I don't know, did y'all get the sheet I sent?
Yeah.
Okay, it covers what all, if we done everything to it, which we wouldn't have to do, but if we got the 2 5-ton air conditioners, which would put us, you know, with warranty work on them for another 10 years, that we wouldn't have to worry about them. So I know we got one that we could possibly worry about, and the other one, it's not that bad, but if you got twins, you might as well take care of both of them at the same time. So those are probably around 10 apiece. And then the ductwork, I went ahead and had him put that in there. The ductwork probably wouldn't have to be redone. That would be probably $12,000 or $15,000 because it's aluminum. Probably all that needs to be done is cleaned. So, and then there's other things there that go along with it, electrical modifications and copper modifications and drain modifications for the air conditioners. And it would just give us to bring that thing up to specs and with new air conditionings that meet, you know, energy efficient air conditioning units for approximately $45,000 to $50,000 if we did it all. But I'm saying we could deduct, I know, 12 of that. But what I'm asking for is to file for this grant, and I've done got the insurance. This grant has to be in by January 31 of 23, which is a week or two away. Not even a week or two away. It's a week, I guess. And I've got him already working on it to ship it in there if y'all okay it, because we running on such a tight schedule. And I appreciate Whitney getting me on the docket quick enough to try to get this done. And talked to Mike, and Pudge is on the airport board. And I've talked to some of y'all individually about it, that it would be a shame for us to miss this for $5,000 to get $45,000 to $50,000 worth of work done. So what I want to ask for is permission to do the grant, get that in here, and then get it for $45,000 or $50,000 grant. That don't mean they're just going to turn around and hand us a check for $45,000 or $50,000. We'd owe 10% if we used the whole $50,000 or $45,000. I'd like to get approved for $5,000, which would be, you know, a little more than $45,000 for the 10%, which would be 50 really. If you 10% of 50 is 5,000. And we wouldn't need that, but I've always said I don't have to come back for $1,000 or $1,200 if we did all this, and I don't think we'd do it all. But it would bring us up to par. So that's basically what I'm here asking for, is to upgrade our system at our FBO. And I'll entertain any questions you may have at this time. Or
So, Rudder, they operate off of reimbursement then, so you go ahead and buy it and put it in, then
right.
reimburse.
What we would do is draw off of it.
Okay.
Well, like if this grant goes through, we'd be approved for 45 or 50, whatever I can get him to send. I had to get this up for him pretty quick, and it was hard. This is just a appraisal or an estimate. This is not a bid. You know, this is just appraisal of what this stuff would cost at the very high dollar to get done. Then, I don't know how you'd want to do it. Mayor and I talked about it. You probably want to bid it out, or, you know, once we get the grant.
Well,
and I'm not saying we'll get the grant, because there was $268 million appropriated for this fund, but that was for all the airports in the United States.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that a lot of them kind of overlooked it and didn't read all the fine print in it and don't file for it. And this is minute in opinion that I've been to. Y'all been in here for hundreds of thousands of dollars when we were resurfacing the runway, doing the turnarounds. We got a supplemental grant for the apron in front of our airport that was $1,040,000 that we didn't have to come up with a dime for. This money that we get for the airport, it don't take away from anything y'all are doing for the city. It's definitely money that is appropriated for airports only. So in other words, we couldn't take any of this money and pave a road with it or anything. It only goes to the airport, and if we don't apply for it, we don't get it. Other airports get it. So I'm going to make sure that we apply for every dime that we can get. You know, because an airport's, it's huge. I mean, you got a 5,000-foot runway. Then you got approaches on each end that you have to keep up. You've got aprons, you've got hangers, you got fuel farms, you got FBO. I mean, it's a huge undertaking to keep that sucker up, you know. And we just try to stay ahead of it because when you talk about economic development, your airport is one of the things. Good schools, good airports.
Yep.
I'll shut up because I could talk all day.
So tonight, what he's looking for approval is to apply for the grant and approve up to $5,000 that would be paid out of the airport fund anyways. That money's already approved for the airport. And so is there anyone have any questions on that? That's all we'd be looking at. Is
Put it on the agenda.
Yeah, we're going to move it to tonight's agenda to apply for the grant and approve up to $5,000 that would come out of the airport fund. No other questions? No. All right, we'll move that to tonight's meeting.
So you won't need me here for tonight's
No.
meeting? Good deal.
You can leave, brother.
Thank
Number 3, let's discuss the record rotation rate changes. Mr. Carter, would you?
Well, I'm not here asking for no money. I'm just asking y'all to approve these rates. Did y'all all of you get a copy?
Well, we do. We have a list, and I guess this is what you sent?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, I don't know if you've seen the current rates. It's kind of broke down a little more than what,
Yeah, and I didn't break it down.
yeah, and so we just want to make sure we're on the same page. That's the current rates.
I don't know how long ago this has been,
Yeah.
8 or 9 years
Would
ago,
you-
probably.
That's 2013 rates.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's more in line with
Okay.
what it should be as far as the big wrecker.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I don't have a big wrecker, so I'll basically put that on there for the guys that do have those
Okay.
large wreckers. But, yeah, I think that's more in line with what it
Mm-hmm.
needs to be, and that's what the state already allows right there. Now, I think this may,
So,
some of that, I'm not sure what, I haven't read all that,
okay.
but,
But you
that's
can
just-
have that copy.
that's the Cliff Notes version y'all got.
Okay. So you have in your packet the new rate. So anyone have any questions on any of this?
This is what the state allows right now.
The only thing that the state didn't have on there is that dolly rate, and I added that $100 for dollying, which none of us really use a dolly hardly anymore, but that's only if you got a wrecker and you gotta take those wheels and put on the back wheels. I added that $100 for that dolly under that, and if you've ever laid on a cold, wet ground putting a dolly under there, you'd probably want $1,000 to do it.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions? We'll put that on tonight's meeting. Thank you. All right, number 4, discuss tourism grant fund request from ASABFA High School Classic Qualifying Fishing Tournament for spring of 2024. Ms. Kirkland.
So you have in your packet, this was just kind of the preliminary email they sent me. They'll send the contract if you guys decide to approve. But for this tournament, this is one we've done for the past 3 years. They're coming in on April the 1st of this year to do their tournament for 2023. And this tournament would be March 16th of 2024. They're asking for $6,500. It's no hotel rooms. So they did go up about $500 to cover the cost of hotel rooms, but that's probably what we probably would have paid more for the hotel rooms if we had booked them ourselves. And this is about 300 boats, and this is just high school teams and their families. So it's the same thing as last time, we're just not booking the hotel rooms.
So you see in your packet, this is a $6,500. That's what they're asking. This would be out of tourism grant fund. Anyone have any questions on that? We'll move that to tonight's meeting then. Next, number 5, discuss the tourism grant fund request for the Alabama Bass Nation High School Fishing Tournament in spring of 2024. Ms. Kirkland?
So again, this is the same one that we've done for the past 4 years. They're coming on March the 18th to do their tournament for this year. So this one is for March 2nd and 3rd of 2024. It's a 2-day tournament. They're asking for $5,500. That's no hotel rooms. And this is 250 boats, and it's, again, high school teams and their families.
And this is $5,500, no hotel rooms.
Yes.
Anyone have any questions on this one? It's also out of the tourism grant. And you said, what's the dates on this one?
That one is March 2nd and 3rd of 2024.
High school tournaments come early, don't they? They want to make sure they get on the books.
They want to make sure they get on the calendar.
Yes. Anyone have any questions on this? Okay, we'll move that to tonight's meeting also. Thank you. All right, number 6, discuss the resolution of the ALDOT agreements to extend the frontage road to Byron Road. Mr. Little.
I believe each of you have in your package a plan and profile of the service road, proposed service road to extend to Byron Road. And of course, this is all in the ALDOT right-of-way, so they're requiring us to pass a resolution for the maintenance and construction of that road.
Anyone have any questions on, I know we've had many meetings about this, but anyone have any questions for Mr. Little on this frontage road? Tonight, it's just approval for the resolution for the agreement to do it. So, no questions. We'll move that to tonight's meeting. Thank you. All right, number 7, discuss the resolution of surplus solid waste property. Mr. Level. Oh, did I skip one?
Yes, sir, this is a,
Oh, hold on. Are we on different ones? All right, hold on. My email's different. Did we got a new email? All right. All right, 7 on your sheet. We'll do this one first because it's not on here. Discuss the amendment ordinance for 280 related to garbage collection. This is the ordinance. We'll do the ordinance first. It's just not on here, on my sheet here.
the ordinance, Mr. Kinnemer can go over it, I don't have it in front of me, but it was just cleaning up some old language from many years ago, that some folks had questions about, and we were having to explain it over and over. So he and I got together, and he rewrote it where it's in layman terms for folks like me to understand. Mr. Kinnemer.
You wanna?
Basically, Stacy's exactly right on that. What the ordinance says clearly is that all residences, businesses, or other entities producing garbage, trash, or debris are required to use the sanitation department of the city for disposal of their items. Some people said, well, you can't make us do that. Well, the state says we can. So it just makes it clear. If someone wants to see it in writing, it's there in writing. All waste from the demolition or repair of buildings and structures and other construction waste broken down into such sizes and weights as may be accessible. You can't put a 100-foot tree, for example, out on the side of the road and expect the city to pick it up. It's not of a size that it's accessible. So that clears that question up. And that the city may deny people who persistently and consistently fail to obey the rules use of the landfill. All common sense. And that's what these 3 minor amendments to the ordinance do.
Okay. Anyone have any questions about the ordinance? We'll move that to tonight's meeting. And then next, surplus solid waste property.
Oh, yes, so this is one of the roll-offs that is in the buyback program. It's just our standard procedure. once the new one comes in, is come forth and present surplus in the trade-in.
Okay. Anyone have any questions about the surplus? No questions. We'll move that to tonight's meeting also. Thank you. Next is to discuss the resolution surplus fire department property. Chief Nicholas.
Yes, sir. We should have in front of you details on 3 treadmills. Those were acquired in, I think, 2003 through a grant. They have pretty much extended their life cycle. So would ask that we surplus those, sell those through deals for whatever we may get them, and then any proceeds be placed into our capital expenditure account.
Okay. Any questions on the treadmills? No questions. We'll put that on tonight's meeting. Okay. And next, discuss the excavator for the street department. Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir, thank you. We're in need of a mini excavator. I've talked with Thompson Caterpillar in Huntsville. I think y'all have got the price sheet and the listing of the excavator. It is on Sourcewell, and we're in bad need of it, if y'all could help us with it.
You'll see in your packet the mini excavator. And this is a new excavator. Anyone have any questions on that?
Wayne, don't we have some money left over from surplus sales and stuff like
I
that?
have some surplus money.
How old is your old excavator?
It's 2011, it's a Kubota, and they just sort of have to baby it to get through some of the work that we're doing now. Needs a lot of repair. And I've talked with Mr. Congo, it's just not worth putting the money in to repair it, you know.
Mr. Wang, how many hours is on that equipment, do you know?
No, I don't know the hours on
Okay.
it. I sure don't. I can get that for you, though.
Thank you.
If you could get a confirmation in writing from the company that it is on Sourcewell for the clerk's file.
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on this?
Now, what do y'all use this for?
Cleaning ditches
Ditches?
and doing, you know, just different things, but ditches is mainly what we do with it.
Good. No other questions. We'll move that to tonight's meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, discuss the authorization to the publication of the potential, did I skip another one? Oh, okay. Discuss the resolution to request the legislation delegation to introduce a local bill related to Scottsboro's municipal election cycle. Okay. Mayor, you want to go over this?
Sure. You should have in your packets a copy of the resolution. This is where we would request the local delegation to introduce this bill again, like last year. This will put Scottsboro's election cycle on the same cycle as not only the county, but all but another 4 or 5 cities in the state.
Anyone have any questions on this? No questions. We'll move that to tonight's meeting. And last one, discuss agreements with Jackson County Commission for the use of the poll books and the voting machines. Ms. Phillips.
These are just agreements with the county to supply the poll books and the voting machines for our special election on February 28, 2023.
Anyone have any questions on the letting the county use this? No questions. We'll move that to tonight's meeting also. That will conclude the work session. We'll do reports at the end of the council meeting immediately following. Give us about 5 minutes to move everything over, and we are adjourned. School session, what? Oh, yeah. Well, I'll be glad to announce that during, is that what this one is? This is the schools?
Yes, it's.
Okay. I'll do that during discussion then when we vote on it.
So you got 14?
I got 14. What you got?
14.
Okay.
Does the excavator need to be a budget amendment? Yes.
You want to type this up real quick and then put it on here?
I can.
Okay. Y'all have any questions on anything? Y'all got any questions on anything that we have tonight?
You're gonna put the 50,000 in there tonight?
I did not.
I was just asking.
No, all these that we already knew about. I don't usually throw something on the night it gets thrown up.
I would just like,
Yeah.
okay.
No,
Just
no,
check.
yeah. No, I'll say if I'm gonna put it on.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I wouldn't put you on the spot like that without knowing more about it. Y'all got any questions? Y'all good? No, put your phone on.
What is that? Margaret, is that your grandchildren?
She back there TikToking?
I can assure you that
Number what?
3 about the board.
Yes,
This
okay, yes.
vacancies for
I
him.
forgot about that one, yeah. I'll need to get some prices. It's really just a budget amendment for this year. It's the 70.
70,699.
$70,699. No, that would have to come out of excess sales tax this year. And be in the budget for next year. Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, on the rate road changes, is that going to be by ordinance?
If they're different from what the Huntsville station charges under the resolution, it needs to be by ordinance. We really need more information from Eddie.
Okay.
Do I need to bring it up here before we go any further?
Eddie. Eddie.
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Carter.
He wants to be called Mr. Carter.
Okay, now, I'm trying to clarify for my mind the changes. In 2013, we passed that. In 2018, a resolution was passed which adopted the Huntsville Trooper.
Huntsville State.
The Huntsville, yes. Okay, now,
I'll be honest with y'all, some of this stuff I've never seen.
is the Huntsville post numbers the same as what you're asking for?
Except for that $100 dollar fee, and I added that myself,
Okay,
because it wasn't on nobody's, and I don't know if it's on here, but riding, or riding or lifting the airbag, 0.035 cents per pound, I've never seen that.
No, it was in that original ordinance.
Was it
yeah,
in the
the
ordinance for
2000,
Huntsville State?
2013.
No.
No, that's 2018 was when,
When we adopted the Huntsville
yes.
state.
This was before that.
The
Oh, it was
13.
2013.
Then at the bottom, it says, at the very end of
In
this,
2018.
it says,
Yeah, where we adopted the Huntsville numbers.
Well, maybe we might want
I think it would be, basically, you want to confirm the Huntsville numbers. Is that correct with everybody that's,
I would think that would be the correct thing, but from what I understand, from what the paperwork I have at my shop, in my booklet, 170 is 225, and 225, $50 a day storage. So, but I'm not sure where a lot of this stuff, I've never seen this.
okay. Now, be that as it may, if what you're asking for tonight is the current Huntsville numbers, and everything except the dolly. So what we would do is a resolution to adopt the current Huntsville numbers effective as of today's date.
Huntsville State Troopers.
Yes. And in addition, a $100 charge for a dolly.
Yeah, because I think
What we're trying to do, Eddie, is do we have to do it in the form of an ordinance? Do we have to do it in the form of a resolution? If we do it in a resolution, it's easier.
Right.
And Whitney won't have to type 14 pages
I
up.
think some,
whereas
I'm from Whitney, I think some of this is kind of a micromanage, 0.035 per pound. Who's gonna get out there and weigh the truck?
That's what we got from the state though, back
Yeah.
I
then.
just wonder where they,
The state has come, as like lots of places, they've eliminated a lot of this stuff. And we're trying to sort of follow in that
I
path.
think some of that needs to be, okay.
Thank you. Okay. So we got a plan.
The current Huntsville State Troopers rate with additional $100 charge per dollar. Yep. All right, anybody else got any questions or anything before we start?
hey, we're good.
You good? Because I'll have to read all this off. All right, we'll call this council meeting Monday, January 23rd to order. We'll dispense with formalities. Ms. Phillips, will you do the roll call?
Mr. Dahl?
Here,
Ms. Tolliver? Here. Mr. Ashburn?
Here.
Ms. Frederick?
Here.
Mr. Bailey?
Here. We'll adopt the agenda. Before we do, I'll go over it. I've got some old, let's see. Number one, consider the ordinance to vacate the alley from Willow Street to Laurel Street. Number two, consider a budget amendment for the police department for the records management software contract and purchase proposal. Number three, announce the Main Street Scottsboro Board vacancies. Number four, approval to apply for the grant and approve up to $5,000 to be paid out of the airport fund for the HVAC units there. Number five, approve the record rotation rate changes, which would be the current Huntsville State Troopers rate with an additional $100 charge for dolly. Number six, tourism grant for the ASA BFA High School Classic Qualifier in the amount of $6,500. Number seven, a tourism grant from the Alabama Bass Nation High School in the amount of high school tournament in the amount of $5,500. Number eight, approve a resolution from AlDOT agreements to extend the frontage road to Byron Road. Number nine, amend the ordinance 280 related to garbage collection. Number 10, a resolution to surplus solid waste property. That's a 2020 Peterbilt. Number 11, a resolution to surplus fire department property. That's 3 treadmills. Number 12, approve a mini excavator in the amount of $98,213 that would come out of excess sales tax for the street department. Number 13, to approve a resolution to request the legislation delegation to introduce a local bill related to Scottsboro's municipal election cycle. Number 14, approve agreements with Jackson County Commission for the use of the poll books and voting machines. So you got 14 things on your agenda. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I make that motion.
I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda's approved. We're moved to approval of previous minutes. I have a motion to approve the previous minutes.
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. No old business, move to new business. First thing on the agenda, consider the ordinance to vacate the alley from Willow Street to Laurel Street. Do I have a motion to approve that?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number two, consider a budget amendment for the police department for the records management software contract and purchase proposal. This will be an amount of $70,699 that would come out of excess sales tax for this year, and the same amount will be in for next year's budget. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make the motion.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the management software? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number three, announce Main Street Scottsboro Board vacancies. Ms. Phillips, will you do that?
The Main Street Scottsboro Board has 2 open board positions. Anyone interested should send a letter of interest to Main Street Director Katie Kirkland via email at kkirkland@cityofscottsboro.com or drop off the letter at City Hall. Letters of interest will be accepted beginning today through Monday, February 6, 2023 at 4:30 p.m.
Okay. And she'd take any volunteers that's willing to help out too. Thank you. Number four, approval to apply for the grant and approve up to $5,000 paid out of the airport fund for the HVAC units at the airport. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the grant? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number five, approve the record rotation rate changes. And that'd be the current Huntsville State Troopers rate as of today and additional $100 charge for Dolly. Do I have a motion to approve that?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number six, tourism grant for the ASA BFA High School Classic Qualifier in the amount of $6,500. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this one?
This is 2024, so it'll be in the next budget year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This one and the next one,
And
too.
you can see.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, approval of the tourism grant for the Alabama Bass Nation High School Tournament. This is March 2nd and 3rd of 2024 in the amount of $5,500. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, approve the resolution for ALDOT agreements to extend the frontage road to Byron Road. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, amend the ordinance 280 related to the garbage collection. Do I have a motion for these amendments?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, the resolution to surplus solid waste property. This was a 2020 Peterbilt that's in that buyback program. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
Yeah. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 11, resolution to surplus fire department property. This is the 3 Trenton Mills. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? I was worried y'all wanting to keep those Trenton Mills.
I'm sure they're worn out.
No other discussion, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 12, approve a mini excavator in the amount of $98,213 that would come out of excess sales tax for the street department. Do I have a motion to approve that?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 13, approve a resolution to request the legislation delegation to introduce a local bill related to Scottsboro's municipal election cycle. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this? In discussion, I just want to relay, this is something we had approved before that the legislation didn't get to, and so we're just reapproving it for them to get a second chance at it. Anyone else have any discussion on this? Then we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, approve agreements with the Jackson County Commission for use of poll books and voting machines. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that?
And I'll abstain because I'll be involved in that election.
Okay.
So,
And while we're in discussion, this is actually the school election, and the school will be paying for this election. And I know there were rumors that the city didn't put this on or something, but this is something they've just brought to us and asked to do, so that's why they're paying for this election. So, any other discussion on this? No discussion, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. That will conclude the meeting. There's no delegations tonight, so we'll go to reports. Mayor?
The only thing I've got tonight, Mr. President, I'd like to expand on what Dr. Reedy was discussing about the gravel. State Representative Mike Kirkland, who is employed at Vulcan, asked me week before last if there was any projects that they could look at. Vulcan does a public service project every year, and related in particular this time to Dr. King's birthday. And I suggested the gravel at the Scottsboro Boys Museum, so they provided them with at least 100 tons of gravel in that parking lot. So timing's everything. That worked out pretty well.
Yes.
That's all I've got today.
Thank you. We'll go to Mr. Kinnemer.
Mr. Bailey, thank you for calling on me. I was saddened to see this week that Ms. Clara Harding had passed away. Ms. Clara was a 40-year employee of the city and was actually the first city court clerk of the city of Scottsboro. in her position as the first city court clerk, she was kind, gracious, and helpful to a very young lawyer who was the first prosecutor in the Scottsboro City Courts. I'll miss Miss Clara. Most everyone that knew her knew she had been in steep decline for the last several years, but she was a wonderful lady, and I'd like to call that to your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Kinnemer. Ms. Frederick?
I don't have anything on that.
Thank you. Mr. Ashton?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tolliver?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dahl?
I don't have anything either. I thank everybody for coming out.
Thank you. Just remind everyone, next Monday is the 30th. That's a fifth Monday, so we won't have a meeting on that night. Next meeting will be February 6th. That's a work session. There'll also be a SWDA meeting that night at 4 o'clock. There'll be a meeting on the 13th, work session on the 20th, and a meeting on the 27th of February. So we'll be back on regular schedule in February. So that being said, I appreciate everyone coming out. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.
Mr. Bailey, this is the longest meeting we've had in 5 years.
Well, we had a 10-minute.
long winters.
Yes. And then we let Rudder have the mic.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
How are you, Dr. Spears?
Dr. Spears, fine, good to see you.
I got it.
How are you, sir?
Yep. If she's not at your house, is she? I was gonna say, take one.
See you, yeah.
Okay.